What's going on, people? Welcome to 137 Works, and today we're having a look behind the beat. Basically, it's behind the scenes look, open up FL Studio and looking through how I made a beat or a tune that I made recently. Done a couple of them in the past, I'll leave them linked below if you're interested in that kind of thing. Yeah, basically, instead of doing a live beat making, it's essentially once I've made a song, I call it a beat, but a song, any kind of tune that I've put out and put it out, I go then, open the project, look through and explain how I made all the different parts and put them together and some of the thought processes and stuff. If that sounds interesting, stick around. If not, feel free to click away. But yeah, it's just something that I think some people might enjoy, so let's get into it. Basically, this one is covering Auld Lang Syne 2023, which is the most recent song that I put up on New Year's Eve. It's obviously a remix of that New Year's Eve tune that everybody sings. And basically, the idea is that I call it a semi-annual tradition of making a remix of Auld Lang Syne, because basically that's what it is. I would love to do one every year, but for different reasons, you're busy or you have things to do, places to be. Obviously, it's New Year's Eve, so you might be like visiting people or going out with your friends or whatever. So I haven't always made one, but the basic backstory to it was back in 2009. Funny enough, it's a minute and 37 seconds long. Didn't plan on that, obviously, way back then, but kind of interesting. Yeah, and I just thought I'd play a little snippet and just talk about it. So yeah, basically 2009 was the first time I did it. I'd been making music for like just over a year, I think, at this point, so it's awful, but here's the idea. So bad. And it goes on with the melody that we all know from the song. Yeah, this kind of amazing music that I was making in 2009. It's just over a year to doing this. Yeah, so that was the first one. And then obviously, as you can see here, 2016, I forgot about the idea for whatever, 6-7 years, whatever. And then yeah, just 2016 came around and I just had the idea again. I was like, oh yeah, do you remember I did that New Year's thing a couple of years ago? Maybe this should be something that I do. Tried it again. This time it sounds a little bit like this. On, so on and so forth. Yeah, so just a different style, maybe something a bit more like what I was making at the time. Geez, 2016 would have been 8 years ago now at this point. Good lord, nearly a decade. Jesus. Okay, anyway, yeah, so then the next one was 2019, so again, a couple more years passed. I think 17 and 18, I was with my girlfriend at the time. I think we were out at a pub for New Year's. So yeah, 2019 was the next time we came around, so this is what we have here. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? So this is where the theme starts to come in. So this is obviously, as you can hear, it's me playing guitar and singing, and that was basically the theme of 2019. I'd started to finally get the confidence up thanks to my friend Fiasco, or Owen. Link to his stuff in the description below, because obviously massive influence, great music, makes some unreal stuff. But yeah, check him out. Basically, Owen had told me that he was like, oh, I'm actually not the best singer in the world, but like with a couple of takes and a bit of, you know, new tone, as they call it, auto-tune in FL Studio, I can make it sound reasonably good. And I was like, well, crap, I've always been told that I can kind of sing. Like if I play guitar at a family function or something like that, everyone was always relatively, you know, they'll clap and stuff like that. So I was like, maybe I'm not a million miles away either. So that's basically what I did. And so from most of 2019, a lot of what I'd been making was me record myself playing guitar. Again, 20 takes, play the guitar. I don't play the guitar very well, my timing is terrible and stuff like that. I know a bunch of chords and I can play a few songs as long as I've got them up in front of me. So yeah, that's what I was doing. So that's the kind of the theme of 2019, was recording myself singing and playing the guitar. So that was that. 2020 then came around and we have this one. More of a dancey kind of dead mousey, progressive housey kind of vibe. Yeah, and basically, as you can see there, just yeah, it's a more dancey. So I guess maybe I went back to making some of the more traditional dancey stuff in 2020, but including the singing as well. So like maybe that was the mindset. Make some of my traditional kind of dancey, dead mousey kind of progressive house stuff. But now that I've got this confidence to sing, let's do the singing thing. And then in 2021, was it 2021 or 2020? I think maybe for my birthday in 2021, my mate Pete bought me a guitar. He bought me the Epiphone Les Paul that I have now for my birthday, and I bought him a roll, as in like a chicken fillet roll, like a breakfast roll. So I think that was fair trade. He thinks he got the better end of the deal, to be honest. But no, for his birthday I got him back something nice. Yeah, so basically that was really nice of him, and so I decided to make a guitar version where I play the guitar and make it like a rocky, pop punky kind of sound. So that's what that is, and that was the theme for 2021. Yep, you get the gist basically. So that was that. It was just basically loved the guitar, wanted to make a tune and do something with the guitar that I got. So that brings us into 2022, which I spent out at a friend's house, and that brings us into 2023, which kind of brings us into the backstory behind the 2023 version. So basically 2022, I was out with my mate Dave's house. So because of that, I was like, well, you're the reason that I didn't get a remix done for last year. So here's the idea. I'm going to make like a lo-fi boom bap beat, this kind of low bap thing that I've been making all year where I've been buying the samples in record shops and chopping them up and stuff. I'm going to do that. As punishment, you have to play the guitar. Dave was in a band for years. He plays guitar. He's an amazing musician, great singer and stuff like that. So I was like, this is the idea basically. I sound like very angry. I was joking. Like, but just, I was like, here, as a laugh, it would be funny since I spent the last New Year's in the shed, and that's why I wasn't home making music. It'd be cool if we did it, work together on the tune basically, and that was the plan essentially, but I left it way too late, and Dave was busy. He was working over Christmas and stuff like that, so he just didn't get time. So that fell through, but the idea was still in my head where I was like, okay, but I have, like, 2023 has been the year where I've kind of transitioned into like a lo-fi, boom bap, low bap, whatever you want to call it. Beatmaker, yeah, I bought like an Audio-Technica AT-LP 120 USB, not the X version, the original version. I found a great, unbelievable price for one on the Facebook Marketplace. And yeah, I've got just this big, where's the stack? Yeah, like that's all my spray paint. That's my hip hop corner, that's all spray paint. Yeah, my Kia Kallax thing with the full of records basically. So that's basically the journey that I've been on this year, or this previous year, where it's just like, yeah, that's what I've been doing. So that's what I should do for the remix of Auld Lang Syne this year. So that's basically what I did. I put it together. It did cut it close. I did get it done basically on New Year's Eve, which I always tend to do. Like, it always comes, I might start it like 2 or 3 days before, but like I get the finishing touches and release it on New Year's Eve. And that was the case. So if you haven't heard it, nearly, you know, as I'm recording this, like 8 minutes into the recording, this is what it basically sounds like. And we will switch over to FL Studio for this. Oh, actually, no, before we get started, I should explain the sample. So that's another interesting part of it. So I have been to every charity shop in Dublin, in most of like the east coast of Wicklow. Basically, I spend a lot of time going between Wicklow and Arklow town. Yeah, if I'm not doing that day, I'll jump in the car and I'll go to a charity shop and just dig through the record, see if I can find anything. When I had this idea to do the sample record, obviously, I was like, okay, I have a memory in my head that I was looking through some record collection in some charity shop somewhere on the east coast of Ireland. Like, I don't know. I've also been to a couple of record shops, so that didn't help as well. I've been pretty sure that it was in a charity shop, so I was like, okay, I have a vivid memory of it being a Christmas album, a Christmas LP from the 70s, and the last track on the second side, on the B side of the record, was Auld Lang Syne. And if I could find that somehow, I could hope that's a good usable version that I could sample. That was the plan essentially, where it was just like, okay, find that record, sample that. It's like finding a hay in a needle stack, trying to find this stuff. Like, in my head I was like, I guess I just have to start like retracing my steps, go over all the different charity shops, all the different places that I've been over the next couple of weeks, whatever, and just see if I can try and find it, or try and find another copy of it, or just generally find another Christmas album that has has Auld Lang Syne on it. But there's also the possibility that it could have just been bought. It could have been, it's a very unlikely, I will admit, but there could be somebody else out there with a similar idea to mine, where it's just like, yeah, okay, that's unfortunate, I found one copy and somebody else had snapped it up. So yeah, basically the adventure was, okay, one of the days I just got up, got dressed, got in the car and just made a beeline for the first 4 or 5 charity shops that were closest to me, just on the odd chance that it was in one of them, because if you can obviously find it close to you, great, sorted, get on. So I went to 2, no joy in one town here in Dublin, went to 3 in another town, no joy, and then I was like, okay, well, that was the first little journey. That was step 1. I've crossed these off the list anyway. So I was on the way home and I headed back through my old town that I used to live in. And there was a decent pile, like there was good probably 50 odd records in this pile in this charity shop, which is pretty bad. But yeah, scrolling through them, flicking through them. Last one on the list, I wish I was like lying or exaggerating, last one in the pile for a fair sum of, well, that show a fiver, I don't know. It was €5 that I had to pay for this stupid old record. But I was also curious because it was only $1.25 new, but with inflation and stuff, it turns out that this would have been about £12 new in the UK, because I think it is originally a UK record. It was printed in the UK. Yeah, so I was like, okay, this, I can't believe it, I found it. And sure enough, last song on side 2, the damn glare, I'm sorry. Yeah, last song on side 2, Auld Lang Syne. Yeah, stoked. Unbelievable to have actually found it in the first trip out. Fair enough, the last record in the last pile of the last shop for that day at least. Yeah, I found it. Coincidentally enough, 3 days ago, I was out in the charity shop in one of the ones that I frequent. Actually, one of the ones that I checked on that first day, now that I think of it, which is even stranger, I found another copy of it. It would have been too late by now, but yeah, that's basically the backstory, which I just thought I had to get it out there because I just thought it was bloody hilarious the way that happened to work out. But yeah, so I found a copy of the record, so that's what we're cutting up, and we're also using Serato sample, which I'm very glad that Akai in the MPC now have brought in samples, AI stem separation obviously, because I was slightly concerned that maybe people wouldn't like appreciate this track because it's like, you're using stem separation like the purists and traditionalists and stuff. It concerned me that like that, yeah, you might be seen as being like, get that technology out of here, like make it on an MPC 60 or go home. Like, but yeah, no, there seems to be generally a very positive reaction to the idea of AI stem separation and using them for hip hop and getting what you need out of a record. So I'm happy to say that this record is almost entirely put together out of samples from that record. So the drums, the bass line, although I played it, I sampled the bass line, but I did play it with the keyboard or whatever. The vocals, obviously, a couple of the different sounds, and then not from the song itself, but from different songs on the record. There's like a bell sound. I think the only thing that I added are literally the crash, the ride, the tambourine, the clap, and then a sample from another record that I just happened to be enjoying, Only You by the Flying Pickets, for whatever it's worth. And yeah, just like effects or whatever. Yeah, the keys, all that stuff. Yeah, so basically pretty much it's mostly either taken directly from the actual song itself using stem separation, or taken from one or two other songs on the same record, with a few exceptions to just fill out the track. But basically, without further ado, this is what the track sounds like. And that's basically it. It goes on, and then there might be a bit of variation towards the end, but that's the idea of the first verse, the breakdown, or like the second half of the first verse. I never know what to call the parts in my songs, and then the chorus basically, and then yeah, beats, and then there's a breakdown, and there's a chorus and outro, and it fades down. So what are we looking at? So the intro drums for the first verse sound something like this. I'm still learning FL21. I finally moved off FL Studio 10. I committed to learning the updated version of FL Studio, so it's taken me a little bit to kind of get familiar with everything. But in theory, these are the drums. Yeah. So again, these are taken directly from the original song. So I will try and find the drums samples that I used, but we'll see. So pretty simple, laid back. Again, this is using stem separation. This is the sample. Include all the bits of what the sample originally sounded like. And now I say originally, but I'm not going to do it for every one. But obviously, as you can see, it's pitched down by 3 and it's time synced to 88 BPM, which is the original one. So when you take the intro drums from the sample, you get. And then I just played them on my LPD Mark 8, my little drum pad thing. Yeah, you get that. Then in the actual song, there is a drum fill that leads into like the chorus part, which is this. Sorry, I had to cut in, make a little edit there because I'm just still getting my head around FL. But yeah, basically this is the drum fill in context with all the original stuff before I change it. Take everything out and you have just the drums. You get. And that's what that is basically. That's the little drum fill that goes into the first verse. Then from there, we have the second part of the drums, which is the drums in the chorus. So you have, this is basically from the kind of more full part of the actual sample. So again, same thing, the drums. Again, the sample sounds like this. Again, it has that AI stem separation kind of artifacty lack of complete clarity sort of thing. And again, it's down pitched by -2 and time stretched obviously to 88 BPM. But in context, you have something like this. And then just take away the bits, and then you have that. And so it's just, and then it's played on the keyboard again, or the drum pad again. So they're the drums, basically. That's primarily essentially the drums. So if we just play them all together, you have. And then just for the chorus again, I'll show you just the addition to the drum. So you have a ride, tambourine on the kind of the second and the fourth hit, a clap on the second and fourth hit with a more reverby kind of affected clap on the fourth. So when you throw them all together, you get, oh, and obviously a crash, I'll show that in as well for the sake of it. Throw them all in, you get from the drum fill. Sorry, yeah, lastly, there is a crash as well that I added. That's like a on every 4 beats, like a crash, just to make it a bit more full. Crash or an open hat, I can't remember exactly, but basically that's it. So that's the drums, essentially. That's the entire drum part. Oh, that's not actually, sorry. Yeah, we have, of course, the hats. So I won't go through it all again, but yeah, basically a couple of hats. The keys then is just from the sample, the original song as well. So if I just go in here, it is also pretty much pitched down -3, and it sounds like this. Again, that weird digital thing that you get from AI stem separation. It's not perfect, but for what I need, it's basically, it's grand. Like. Okay, right. So it sounds weird, but again, when you chop it the way that I did, it makes a bit more sense. That's the way I cut it, and then the original song with all the... Sorry, I'm doing this kind of all sorts of ways. I should have had a more clear structure for how I show off the things, but basically, yeah, this is the context from which the keys are taken from. Again, it's amazing what this stuff can do when you consider there really isn't that much for AI stem separation to be able to pick up, to be able to remove all the other bits. The job that it does is actually pretty good. Like, again, you can point out the artifact till the end of time, but like just the fact that that's even possible is absolutely mental. So yeah, that's the keys. We have the bass line, which again is just taken from the original song. Same process. It should be pitched down to -3 as well, I'd assume. +14. Okay, so there must have been something interesting with that. So this is what we have. This is the sample. Oh, that's what it is, yeah. So I pitch it up, but I played it lower on the register in FL. Yeah, so technically... Yeah, so that's, yeah, it makes sense. So that's basically it. That's the bass line. And so, okay, and so with context, this is what we have so far. Also, the bass line is just played slightly different depending on You'll see that as well a bit, depending on the second half of the Auld Lang Syne chorus. It kind of the second half is slightly different, so I just did the notes a bit differently, but it's all the same really. Next up, pretty straightforward. We have piano on beat. Basically, pretty much as it says on the tin there, it's basically a piano that plays on the beat. It is taken from, we will see actually, because I can't remember to be honest, so. Right, well that's basically it. It's very quiet, obviously very subtle, very quiet, but if we add everything back in, again, push down by -3, match to the tempo. Yes. That's like towards the second half of the original sample. They have the men's voice comes in, sings it in Old Scots, whatever the original language is, Old Scots Gaelic, whatever. They take away the Rhodesy kind of digital kind of sounding keys, and it's more traditional piano. So that's where I got that from. Yeah, I just remember hearing do 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 that little piano bit there. Yeah, and then just want to take everything out again. And so, yep, you've got that basic kind of classic. Usually it's done with horns. You see it done with horns more often than anything else. But in this case, it's obviously a piano sound where you've got the same note, just getting softer. Right, next up was something that I kind of deliberated with myself about how I was going to do the vocals. Would I sing them myself? Would I play it on the guitar maybe? Would I use a synth or something like that? But I thought since again we could chop out the vocals, I was either going to use the vocals and maybe pitch them up or down or whatever. I went with a kind of a middle ground. So it's basically the vocals but sampled in a weird way. So again, if we look at the vocal sample itself, where I got it from, again, I'm doing this arse about face. I'm not doing it like I wish I was like showing you exactly how it was done every single way with the sample first, then what it sounds like without all the instruments. How I chopped it, like that's, I should have thought about a way to do this in the first place, so apologies that I'm all over the place here. But yeah, here's the context from which I got the vocal chop. So again, -3, time synced. Right, pretty straightforward. And then, yep, just taking out everything that we don't need. So only leaving the vocals. And again, I did think about just using it like this, just having it sing the actual song. But I thought having it be cut up and chopped up and making it more sounding like a hip hop sample sort of thing. Like you still get the idea, so it still sounds like old acquaintance be forgot. So you've got the main notes that you need to be hitting, but they're just done in a different kind of, I hope, more interesting way. So this is what the chop sounds like. And then with that, we have the bulk of what the song basically sounds like. So we should do a little recap now at this point. So we have all the instruments in. Yeah, I think it has a nice little kind of steady, like you can imagine walking along, bopping your head to it, like it's got a nice little vibe. Yeah, so the next thing is the bell is taken, I know this one for a fact, I'm pretty sure it's taken from a different song on the same album, so another Christmas song, and it's just very straightforward, as it was, pitched up by 1. Pretty straightforward, so, and that's pretty much just played in a melody. It's a bit unfortunate that you can still hear that the slightly kind of lower frequency. That's what I was looking for. The slightly lower frequency from the part of the sample. Because if you solo it out like that, you can kind of hear then that it becomes a bit disharmonic or whatever the word is, like a bit dissonant. Yeah, in the context of the sample, once it's been EQ'd as it has been and it's in the right volume mix level and stuff like that, you can't really hear that, so it's okay. The next bit is horns. So much like I said earlier on about the NY New York kind of standard on the beat horns thing. That I did with the piano, I basically just did it again, but with horns this time. So the sample we have is, again, I believe another song on the record. This one's pitched down -8, so it must have been a pretty high up thing, but we'll see. I have no idea what the song could be. Okay, just for curiosity, I need to hear what this actually is supposed to be, because it's not ringing a bell at all. What Christmas song could this be? It doesn't help that it's played at 120 BPM originally, and I have it synced to 44. I've got a halftime of 88, obviously, to fit in. Let's see. Walking in the... It just goes to show how absent-mindedly sometimes, like, you can just create something and not know where it came from. Like, I literally, you could have paid me money to tell me what that song was, but I twisted it in such a way, like, I brought it down from 120 to 44 BPM, so even now it's probably still tricky. Now that I know, it gives it away a bit, but like that's just really funny. All I needed was the music though, so I took everything else out, and then I chopped it in such a way that sounds like this. Again, nothing groundbreaking there, but again, when you think of where the sample started to where I brought it into, it was pretty cool. That's one of them. And then we have this, another way of chopping, I believe the same sample, but it goes like this. So again, that one doesn't sound particularly mad, but that is that got into my brain a little bit. There's something about the combination of that with the bass line and the way that the song goes. Like, it's just like if I just play those bits, in my humble opinion, I think it sounds pretty good. Like, that particular change there in the second half. Yeah, something about that, like, and it's also slightly imperfect. I didn't cut them 100% right and stuff. Yeah, that's one of those little melodies that definitely wormed its way into my brain. A sign of if I've done a good job or not when it comes to a piece of music that has vocals in it is it relying on the vocals? And obviously, even though these are technically like chopped up sample thing, like, can you take away the recognizable hooky aspect of the vocals and still have the song sound good by itself? And I think that's the case, honestly. If I do say so myself, essentially, I do think this sounds quite well, even without the vocals. So, like, if we listen to all that without the vocals, for example, this is what we have so far. With the vocal. Some people might argue it sounds better without the vocal. Like, there's guaranteed to be one person out there that has that opinion. But anyway, yeah, lastly then we have Only You Ba, which is not a reference to a sheep. This is a chop of a song that I've loved and listened to pretty much every Christmas, part of my Christmas music rotation or whatever, since it was used in an ad. A version of it was used in an ad for something years ago here in Ireland. Yeah, it's just always been with me. So I took the actual sample, sorry, not the actual sample, the actual record, which I found in a record store, and I was like, wait, Flying Pickets, they make that only U tune. And sure enough, it is second last song on the B-side, which is mad, because again, you would think, again, I don't know, everybody does that LPs differently, but you would think it would have been higher up. But again, so not using any YouTube rip or download, I sampled the actual record again. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I sampled that, and with all the context, I don't know. They're an a cappella group, so I don't know why I just enabled everything to hear it all in one. There is no instruments, but yeah, this is what it goes like. If you don't know, it's pitched up 6, and again, beat stretched, but that's basically what that sounds like. I'll just undo this just in case. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. Then lastly, we have Window Above. So I chopped out some lyrics from the verse. So again, if you've never heard the song, this is basically something like what it sounds like, pitched up +6 and time stretched from 100 BPM down to 88, in fairness. But yeah, here's the context. Of course, it doesn't do it justice, but for the song purposes that I was using it for, I chopped it in such a way that went like this. Yeah, so because again, Auld Lang Syne, it's a New Year's tune, but obviously Christmas and New Year's kind of more or less the same sort of kind of idea, same week, whatever. And yeah, I've always wanted to do. I have like 6 versions of an Only You remix that are fairly far along. I could probably even literally just render out 1 or 2 of them and just call them done. Because yeah, I went through a real phase there a couple of years ago when I first heard it, where I was like, this is the best song actually ever. Like, I'd obviously always heard it growing up and stuff like that as a kid around Christmas time. Yeah, just for whatever reason I just went through a mad kick with that song. But yeah, so I've kind of always wanted to use it in some way in a tune because it is an acapella and it is easily usable. So just sneaking it in here quietly, as you can probably hear. Obviously, I should have probably said at the start, everything obviously of course is pre-mixed. There is mad volumes, like adjustments. Some things are louder than others as I'm playing it back to you, and that's just because it's already been pre-mixed. I haven't gone over any of the mixing work because you can see here, like, everything is more or less the same. It's all using some version of a filter. In my case, my filter of choice is VPS Filter, a compressor which I've switched over recently to. They made it free recently, the UA Audio Teletronics LA2A, which is based on an old hardware compressor, and it does a good job. But then yeah, other than that, I'm seeing reverb, classic reverb as ever, classic delay if I need a delay, and then there's my mix master train, which I might make a separate video on, but this is how I get my lo-fi sound. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Add in like a sweep effect, and that's basically the gist of how the song was made. Obviously, you've got then the breakdown where I basically just take things out and put them back in. There's an EQ sweep that brings the sample down. Yeah, I can show you here. Sorry, that's the vocal chop and the filter. So you've got basically goes down to basically inaudible, and then slowly comes back up into the last verse. But other than that, I think that's... Oh, no, it's not. I'm dumb. So yeah, the guitar solo original idea, the guitar bit that I had originally with Dave to do in the shed, I decided to have a bash literally on New Year's Eve itself. Like, as I was putting it together, I was like, okay, look, I've got the guitar, I like playing guitar, I can record a decent attempt after, you know, 20 attempts or whatever, so I'll have a bash. And I didn't do the solo in the end. I was playing the solo and it sounded fine all up, but I was like, nah, it doesn't really sound good, but I do want something, one last bit to flesh out this little breakdown part, because without this part that I added, here's what we have. It's just very basic, very flat, very like... Not that that's a bad thing, that is how I like my breakdowns to be. Like, they start off kind of very stripped back, and then slowly they build up into, not a drop per se, but just like a slow crescendo back up into the full thing. But I did want something, so while I had the guitar out, I come up with this little idea. So it slowly comes in, and we have this little guitar idea. And that just basically repeats out until... Again, I'm not the best guitar player in the world, but yeah, it's something like that. And then when it's all fleshed out, you have something that sounds like the breakdown. See the way it just adds in that little bit of extra stuff into the space that was there where it felt very empty. And it goes so on and so forth from there. That's basically the track as far as I know. I'm probably missing something, but I've been recording for 45 minutes now, so after editing it'll probably be about 40, which is a long time to be chatting about a very basic, run-of-the-mill 4-minute song. Basically 10 minutes per minute of song I've just gone on there. But yeah, no, I hope you found it interesting. I did really like the song. I do love to do these every year. It's something that I enjoy doing, especially when I do finish them on New Year's. It's become like a New Year's tradition now. Before I go downstairs with the family and play darts and have a few drinks and join in the New Year celebrations, I do like to spend this little time just getting a tune done. And yeah, with the backstory behind it, behind finding the record and how it came together and stuff, the fact that it is essentially all based off the actual record itself is really cool. So yeah, it's a cool little interesting story. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.